The Academy called it a pain threshold assessment chamber, which was bureaucratic language for a room designed to break species. The chamber itself was circular, cold alloy walls etched with biometric runes, alien sigils glowing faintly like predator eyes. Tiered observation balconies rose above it, filled with representatives of a dozen galactic empires, mantis lords clicking their mandibles, gelatinous delegates pulsing with color, avian admirals adjusting ceremonial medals. All of them leaned forward in anticipation. Humans had been an afterthought when the Interstellar Coalition invited Earth into the Academy trials. Not warriors. Not conquerors. Not even equals. Just another. Category 3 bipedal industrial species. Soft-skinned, short-lived, emotionally volatile. The kind you test, catalog, and, if necessary, control. That assumption was why the chamber doors opened with a hiss, and silence followed. The human walked in unarmed. No armor. No neural dampeners. No pain-suppressing implants like every other species insisted upon. He wore the plain gray fatigues of the Academy's lowest-ranking cadets, sleeves rolled up, forearms scarred with old burns, shrapnel lines, surgical seams that told stories nobody in the room wanted to ask about. He looked around slowly, eyes calm. Too calm. The proctor, a towering Threx overseer with 4 arms and a voice modulated to induce fear, loomed above him from the control dais. "Human Cadet Elias Ward," it intoned. "You are about to undergo standardized nociceptive endurance testing. This procedure has caused neural collapse in 47 species. You may withdraw." Ward tilted his head, listening like a man waiting for a punchline. "Is this the warm-up?" he asked. A ripple of confusion swept the balconies. The proctor's eye clusters narrowed. "Clarify." Ward flexed his hands. "I mean, are we starting now, or do I stretch first?" Somewhere in the stands, an avian officer laughed, then stopped when no one else joined in. The restraint snapped onto Ward's wrists and ankles, magnetic cuffs locking him into the center of the chamber. The floor retracted, suspending him slightly above ground. The pain engines hummed to life, devices that translated neural feedback into direct sensory overload. Designed to simulate flaying, crushing gravity, cellular disintegration. The proctor raised one claw. "Begin at level 1. A flicker crossed Ward's face. Barely noticeable. A tightening around the eyes. Then, nothing. The observers waited for screaming. There was none. "Level 3. The proctor ordered, irritation creeping into its tone. Ward exhaled slowly. "Ah. There it is. Level 5. A lesser species would have lost consciousness. Many had died." Ward laughed. Not hysterically. Not bravely. Amused. "Oh hell," he muttered. "This feels like Kabul." Silence swallowed the chamber. The proctor hesitated. That had never happened before. "Level 7. Blood seeped from Ward's nose. Muscles trembled. Teeth clenched. His vitals spiked, and then stabilized. A medical analyst whispered, "He's regulating it." "That's impossible," another replied. "The system overrides voluntary control." Ward looked up at the observation deck, eyes locking onto the coalition representatives. "Question," he said through gritted teeth. "Do you guys get bonus points for creativity, or is this just basic?" The proctor slammed all 4 claws down. "Level 10. The chamber screamed. Not Ward. The pain engines overloaded, feedback spiraling as the system struggled to reconcile data that shouldn't coexist, extreme nociception without neural collapse. The lights flickered. Consoles sparked. Ward's voice cut through the chaos, hoarse but steady. "You know," he said. "Back home, we call this Tuesday." Then he smiled. That was when the alarm started. The Academy buried the incident under classified seals within minutes. That was mistake number 1. Ward was released from the chamber on a stretcher, not because he'd broken, but because the system had. Engineers argued in hushed tones while medics scanned him, whispering words like adaptive dissociation and learned pain compartmentalization. The coalition representatives retreated into private chambers, shock giving way to something colder. Fear. Impossible, hissed a Virex diplomat, voice trembling as their translucent exoskeleton rippled nervously. No species tolerates level 10. They do not tolerate it, replied Admiral Shun of the Drakari fleet, scales darkening. They endure it. That distinction mattered. The Academy had always been a proving ground, a way to rank species, assign them roles in the galactic hierarchy. Soldiers here. Laborers there. Clients and cannon fodder. Humans had been slotted for logistical support. After Ward, that file burned. They summoned him before the council. Ward stood alone in a vast amphitheater, hands clasped behind his back, posture relaxed in a way that unsettled everyone watching. He'd showered. Cleaned the blood from his face. Asked for coffee. Been denied. A Mantis Lord clicked impatiently. Explain your resistance. Ward shrugged. Not much to explain. You felt pain. Sure. You should have broken. Ward's smile didn't reach his eyes. Yeah. So? A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Drakari admiral leaned forward. What is pain to humans? Ward considered the question. Depends, he said. Sometimes it's a warning. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's just background noise. Silence. And sometimes, he continued, voice hardening, it's the only thing you have left when everything else is gone. The council pressed. Questions turned invasive. Psychological profiles. Evolutionary trauma. War history. They learned about Earth. About trenches filled with gas. About cities burned from the sky. About soldiers trained to function while bleeding out because stopping meant everyone else died. They learned about something called boot camp. That was when the political factions made their move. If humans could endure what no other species could, they could be used. A classified directive passed through the coalition within hours: human cadets to be reassigned to Vanguard trials. Live combat simulations. Ward read the order and laughed. Figures, he said to the Drakari officer escorting him. You guys always do this. Do what? The officer asked. See how much we can take, Ward replied. Then decide to push harder. The Vanguard trials were not tests. They were executions. Simulated battlefields against mechanized horrors, predator species bred for war, kill zones designed to overwhelm elite troops. Even seasoned veterans died there. Ward was dropped in alone. The terrain shifted into a burning cityscape. Sirens wailed. Hostile signatures flooded his HUD. He cracked his neck. All right, he muttered. Now we're starting. The first enemy died screaming. Not because Ward was stronger. Because he didn't stop when it hurt. And that terrified the galaxy. By the third Vanguard engagement, the Coalition stopped calling it a trial. They called it containment. Ward adapted faster than their algorithms could predict. He learned alien tactics mid-fight, turned battlefield hazards into weapons, and coordinated with cadets who had survived only because they were human. When wounded, he kept moving. When surrounded, he advanced. Every miscalculation the Coalition made fed into his strategy. Other human cadets began surviving longer than projected. Then winning. That was when the whispers started. Weaponized trauma. Pain-immune shock troops. Species-level threat. A secret session convened without human representation. We must limit their exposure, argued a Virex strategist. They are learning too much. They are already learning, countered Admiral Shun, scales darkening, voice low and dangerous. The question is whether they learn who taught them. The decision was made quietly. The next Vanguard scenario was not a simulation. It was a live-fire deployment against a rebel system, one the Coalition had been struggling to pacify. Human cadets were deployed as expendable assets. Ward knew the moment he hit the ground. The enemy fire was real. The screams were real. The dead didn't fade out. Command, he said into the calm, voice icy. Confirm this is live. Static. Then a clipped reply. Proceed with mission objectives. Ward stared at the burning skyline. Copy, he said softly. Proceeding. They expected him to die. Instead, he took the city. Street by street. Rooftop by rooftop. He coordinated civilian evacuations while fighting a guerrilla war against forces that had shattered entire fleets. He used pain like fuel, rage like a map. Every misstep by the coalition only sharpened him. Every trap they set became part of his arsenal. Human ingenuity wasn't theoretical. It was a weapon honed under centuries of survival, war, and chaos. By the time extraction came, Ward didn't board immediately. He turned to the camera drone hovering nearby. You watching this? He asked. Back at the academy, the council chamber was silent. Good, Ward said. Because when we come knocking, this is what it'll look like. The feed cut. Human fleets began mobilizing 3 days later. The coalition realized, too late, that the academy hadn't measured humanity's pain limits. It had taught them how much the galaxy deserved. Word spread through intercepted communications. Humanity didn't just fight, they adapted. They improvised. They laughed under fire. Dark humor became morale. Pain became a strategy. Galactic observers called it unpredictable behavior. Ward called it Tuesday. By the end of the campaign, alien species were no longer content to study humans. They feared them. They feared what humans could do when cornered, underestimated, and left alive. And humanity had only just begun. War did not begin with a declaration. It began with laughter. Coalition intelligence intercepted human communications, soldiers joking under fire, commanders trading gallows humor, politicians arguing about budgets while authorizing strikes that would shatter empires. They didn't sound afraid. That was the worst part. Ward stood on the bridge of a human cruiser, scars fresh, eyes older than his years. Around him, men and women who had survived the academy moved with calm efficiency. They thought pain was a leash, a lieutenant said. Ward shook his head. Nah. Pain's just a teacher. The first coalition world fell in 7 hours. Not glassed. Taken. Its rulers removed, its military dismantled, its people left alive and confused. Human broadcasts followed, footage of the academy chambers, the Vanguard trials, the lies. The galaxy watched its moral high ground collapse. Some species surrendered. Others fought. Those learned faster. At the final confrontation, a coalition delegate demanded terms. Ward leaned forward, resting his hands on the table. You tested how much we could suffer, he said. Now we're testing how much you can change. The delegate swallowed. And if we cannot? Ward smiled, tired and terrible. Then we keep going, he said. Because we're very, very practiced at enduring. The war ended not with annihilation, but with restructuring. The academy was dismantled. Pain testing outlawed. Humans refused thrones, refused dominance. They took something else instead. A say. Respect. A seat at the table the galaxy had once assumed was above them. Years later, a young alien cadet would ask a human instructor about the old chambers. Did it hurt? The cadet asked. The instructor, older now, scarred, human, chuckled. Yeah, he said. But the real pain? He looked up at the stars. Was thinking nobody was watching. Fade to silence. Fade to humanity. HFY.